study, get a job. Come on, you'll find love later. So what? You get a job, earn some money, travel to one or two nice places, maybe once every 2 years if you're lucky. Find love, get married, have kids, maybe retire if you're lucky enough, die. You've heard that a million times before, haven't you? Hmm? The whole spiel about how life should be going. And by the way, in the meantime, I upgraded the house a bit. You may have gone over. Okay, then. In any case, ignoring the rain. You've probably heard the whole quote unquote list, as I like to call it, the big common bucket list. Right? Of course, some things may be missing, some things may be extra on yours, but that's basically the blueprint that's given to us in life since forever, actually. Or at least that's what our parents instill in us. Those are the values we learn. Nice hat, Mr. Zombie Villager. You know, those are the values we hear really often, and people say they should really be highly regarded and well taken into account. But does it sound at the very least boring? Hmm? If you're like me, life's probably lost color. And I don't mean that in a physical way. Or maybe even in a physical way too. Why not? For me, life does seem a bit, you know, lacking in color. And it seemed that way for a long time. And from what I've heard, many people are also dealing with this. So first of all, no, you're not going insane. You're not alone. And hopefully you're not the only one that finds that bucket to-do list thingy completely ridiculous. Like, think about it for a moment. This is the blueprint that's been given to you, and there's no ill will behind it. The people that told you to do those things probably really care about you, actually. They might be your parents, they might be your grandparents, they might even be teachers. Supposing they have souls. But, you know, I've been a teacher at some point, and I think I have a soul, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt, I suppose. But, you know, life really starts to sound a lot more boring when you look at it this way. You start to ask yourself, is this really all there is to life? Get married, have kids, etc. Basically also put a new generation through the misery you're probably going through. And honestly, through the misery we're all going through. Well, that's not all there is to life, and if you're watching this, I think you've already realized that aspect. Which is great news. Realizing that there's a problem is a huge step forward in eliminating the problem, hopefully. And, you know, it's really a difficult subject to approach because some people may agree with those instilled classic values. Some people may say, well, what's the point of them? And others may just go ahead and say, well, the world is ending, who cares? Well, you should care, just saying. It's kind of your life too. So what's the deal with this talk? Well, in this talk, I honestly want to cover the fact that life doesn't have to be that shallow. Just, you know, rewatch the first part of the video and tell me, doesn't it sound sad? It sounds sad. Like having a predestined, almost predestined path. It's like, well, yes, but this is the norm and our ancestors have been doing great so far. Yes, they have been doing great because this blueprint was great back in their ages. It ensured species propagation, it ensured relative safety, and it certainly ensured having a society in the future. By the way, we live in said society right now. And spoiler alert, it's not as pretty as they'd imagined. I think they too would have wanted flying cars, but no, we have. Well, we don't have much, you know? And you're probably wondering, well, what's the deal with you? You're also 20 something years old, right? Yes, I'm also 20 something years old. And I'm here to tell you that life doesn't have to be so gloomy. You know, it's a thing that really grinds my gears, sometimes actually keeps me up at night. Whole idea of, isn't there something more to life? And there is something more to life. Those are the great news I'm about to tell you. But the problem is that a lot of that something more has been locked behind many things. Think about it. Yes, we're free nowadays. I cannot deny that. For example, who knows, back in my parents' days, I would have probably been shot in the middle of the capital for saying this. And now I do have the freedom of speech, but what freedom do I actually have? Hmm? Can I, for example, say whatever I think out loud in public? No, I can say that on the internet because there's nobody nobody's gonna come for my head through the internet. But no, we've lost the right to freedom of speech in public, and that should be known. Do we have democracy? Some countries might. Some countries might. Uh, Unfortunately, most of them have a cheap facade. You know, that's really far from any kind of democratic ideas. Sure, you might get the impression that you get to choose what happens, but you don't. But I promise myself to not get into politics when it comes to this channel. So let's get back to our main subject, which is life feeling a bit dull lately. Why do I say that? Well, life feels a bit dull because we don't know how to live it anymore. How many of you actually went ahead and did something out of their own free will, accord, and just because they felt like it? In the past, I don't know, 2, 3 days. Some of you might have a job, and you're attending that job, quote unquote, of your own free will. But let's face it, you're probably attending it for the money, and if you're not attending it for the money, then congratulations, you have a decent job. But other than that, doing things that you want to do is something that isn't that common anymore, you know? And I'm sure I'm not the only one that noticed this. It's just not that common nowadays to go out and see someone living their best of best lives, well, other than on social media, where, let's face it, we all have to look pretty, right? Of course, I'm not against social media, but you have to admit that life is not all sunshine and rainbows, unfortunately. It's never been, right? It's really never been sunshine and rainbows. But at some point in life, we were able to do much more. Think about the time we were kids, right? What were our cares in the world? Oh, right. What game am I gonna play today? What am I gonna wear tomorrow? And maybe, supposing you're a bit of a studious kind, I'm not. Oh, well, when am I gonna do my homework? I'm not discouraging homework in any way, shape, or form. Please, kids, do your homework. Do not listen to me. In any case, the point is, life, like, we got used to life being a bit simpler. And now we just end up at like 18, 19, 20 something years old, thrown out there into the world. With what skills? The skill of listening to my dear teacher that's probably more frustrated than I am. Okay. Interesting, interesting skill. I'm honestly not interested in that. And I don't mean to hate on teachers. There are some really good teachers out there, and I honestly respect them for being able to do their job. But the point I'm trying to make is that we don't really learn that much important stuff nowadays. Please blow up. You're not gonna blow up, are you? Nope. Oh, but the skeleton helped. And that's the end of the run. In any case, we are not prepared at all for life. And I don't even know whose fault it is. And I think that's the problem. None of us have any idea whose fault this is. We can't place the blame on school per se, as much as I for one like to do that. But we can't. Alright, we can't just, oh no, let's blame it on school. No. School does its thing. And the thing it does, well, it does right. Which is prepare you to work in, oh yeah, a factory in most cases. What's really graded nowadays in school? Well, interesting. Watchtower, let's go. Well, you're graded for, let's see, maintaining your attention span, which is normal, and I think it's something that everyone and anyone should practice and be able to do. But honestly, if you cannot maintain your attention span, that's it's not alright. You should really get to working on that. But other than that, hello, come out. See, speaking of attention span, did I hold my attention span? No. Did that massively hinder our conversation? Well, it did not massively, it sort of did. But the thing I'm trying to say is that, other than that, how are we prepared to face life with all of its challenges and complexities and many, many beautiful things at the end of the day? Well, the simple answer is we're not. We're not prepared to face life in any way, shape, or form. And that's why most people end up going from like the teenage years saying, oh yes, high school was so great, and the lucky few that get to live stress-free in college, well, guess what? When college ends, they're gonna be even more shocked. Of course, I'm not here to start a revolution or something like, oh yes, go burn your schools. Please don't take that out of context, thank you. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we have to adapt. You know, life is not easy. Every generation has faced its challenges, as much as we may like to bash on the older guys. They know their stuff. And what they knew was really valid and great for their age. But times have changed. We have the internet. Suppose you're like, I don't know, a 15-year-old and you're listening to me giving not really life advice, but I would like to consider generally complex and smart opinions, right? What does that mean? It means that you get a shot to understand something you shouldn't until much later in life. And what does that cause? Well, it causes accelerated growth. A lot of teenagers nowadays are even more quote unquote advanced than many of my peers. And that should really say something. So what I'm really trying to talk about in this video, huh? I'm trying to say that it's normal to feel overwhelmed in life. It's really normal. Okay? Think about it. In my lifespan, for example, right? I have gone through having MS-DOS on a computer, right? Well, not MS-DOS, Windows 95, come on. But basically a really, really old operating system. Some people might not know what it is to this day. And I've gone through that. I've also gone through the technological shift to smartphones. And guess what? Catching smartphones means that I've also gone through the technological shift to VR, AR, etc. All of this happened in less than 20 years. You know how much time it took for humans to adapt from, like, I don't know, the first fire? It took hundreds of years. Sure, they learned how to use it quickly, but I mean adapting, moving on to the next big thing. So of course we feel overwhelmed. How else should we feel? Okay? Anyone who's not feeling overwhelmed, in my opinion, my humble, maybe uneducated opinion, is not interested or just generally not paying attention or unable to do so. And I think it's best I stop here with why and how. But the rest of us are really, really overwhelmed by it all. And it's normal. It's normal to feel overwhelmed. It's normal to maybe feel a bit left behind. Perhaps you'll get a chance to understand your grandparents in this situation. Like, if we feel left behind, I think literally every other generation feels far worse. But we're not here to talk about them, right? We're here to talk about me, you, 20, maybe 30 years old, something like that. And yeah, life gets overwhelming fast. I know I've said that a million times in this video. That's just how important and how real it is. But there is something more important than that. Accepting it. And really coming to peace with the fact that, hey, yes, life moves at a really fast pace, at a pace for which we weren't really quote unquote designed as humans. Okay, because that's the harsh truth. Us humans were designed to adapt for sure, but not in such a short amount of time. So don't panic, please. This whole stress of not being up to speed, not being up to date, not, just being overwhelmed in general by life, by having to get a job, by having to stick to some standards. Screw those standards, man. Honestly. Like, really now? We have to conform to standards? Yes, we have to conform to standards of basic human decency, of course. But should we live our life by a blueprint? Don't you think there's something more? Something worth discovering? Something enjoyable? Something fun? Something interesting? No? I don't know. I, for one, cannot accept the idea that life has grown this dull and boring. I can't, honestly. So that's why it's very important to understand how we got here, you know? Earlier, I talked about the whole blueprints and standards thing, and yeah, I have no doubt that even you, dear viewer, felt a chill go down your spine when I basically summarized 90% of the population's life plans. And that's because we're superficial nowadays. Travel once or twice or stuff. Yes, that's a noble goal, but this planet is way too big to be seen in one human lifetime, supposing you travel every day. It's next to impossible. And that's fine. See, that's the whole thing. And what I said about it, the fact that it's normal to feel overwhelmed, it's fine. It's life. Life has so many complex and beautiful things. It's impossible to not feel at least a bit overwhelmed. But why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because I used to stress out so much about life being overwhelming. I really did. And in a way, take these videos as you want, but in a way, I'm trying to tell people and maybe help people, people that are or feel how I felt back when I was younger, I'm just trying to say things that I would have loved to know about life. And that I didn't, because nobody prepared me for this. Lucky me, I managed to adapt. Sort of. Because saying that you adapted to this is just a lie. It's just a massive lie, honestly, now. But sure, if it's a comforting lie and if it's something that helps you sleep at night, sure, go for it. Keep believing that. But the thing is that you should try. I know it's hard to do, I've been there, but try to leave your anxiety behind a bit. Just breathe. Because in reality, it's not life that's lost colors. It's us that just seem to refuse to see them anymore. You know? That's the harsh truth about what actually happened to life's colors. Nobody took them away. There's no evil wizard that came and said, haha, your life shall now not have any colors. No, that doesn't happen. Not even in movies. So yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. Dear viewer, try to embrace life and take it bit by bit. You never even know when it's gone. It would be a shame to live it in fear and overwhelming, just being overwhelmed and stuff. Why not live life to its fullest? When life can be so fun and so beautiful, why not do that? It's basic logic, and by the way, the answer is there is no reason to not do that. If you found any other answer, I'm genuinely curious, but I would like to think that this is the correct answer. Not in a way of I'm right and you're wrong. No, it's just that we really need to learn to take things step by step again, because that's the thing that keeps us sad, miserable, and in some cases even wallowing in self-pity. And trust me, when you start wallowing in self-pity, it's hard to get out of there, because you're gonna start blaming anything, everything, and anyone else but yourself. And you should know that in most cases you have a problem, at least when it comes to perspective. So how about this? Try shifting your perspective. Try taking life step by step, right? Rome was not built in a day, you know? Remember that. Things take time and it's normal. It's so normal. Even this video, right? Rendering and uploading it is gonna take time. Why does it take time? Because you're creating something. And whenever you create something, especially something that you can be proud of, you need to be aware that you're gonna have to give it time. Right? Suppose, I don't know how many of you ever made bread, but you know that you need to leave the dough covered with something warm to grow, right? If you don't, well, I'm happy to have let you in on a trade secret, I guess. But even the dough needs time and space to grow. So why don't you give yourself that time and space? It's not worth it, stressing yourself out over every little single second. I'm not saying that you should just go Hakuna Matata on life. It doesn't work like that either. But take things a bit slower, please, and take care of yourself. Alright? If you, whoever you may be, dear viewer, have any suggestions or things you might want my opinion on for some weird reason, do feel free to comment. I promise you I will read as many as I can, supposing there are any. And who knows? I'll try to cover them to the best of my ability. But yeah, remember to breathe, okay? Life's not gonna end in the next 5 minutes, I promise that. Unless you're in a car crash, then seek emergency medical help. But other than that, I promise life is not gonna end in the next 5 minutes, okay?